Any questions? Anyone wants to ask anything? Okay. Then go for the next slok. Whose turn it is? Who is supposed to read the slok today? Any one of you may start with it, whoever interested.
Direct Ramraj, I can read.
Okay. Summarize the whole part which we have understood from introduction to the 2 slok, and then go for the next.
Okay, Ji Raja. So, in the introduction, you had explained that Siddhantmuktavali was dedicated to Achyutas Anodhya, and Siddhantmuktavali is the third treatise of Shorash Granth. And Achyutas Anodhya was a Bhakti Margya sannyasi, and he wasn't able to perform service in a permanent home. And despite the situation that Achyutas was in, Sri Mahaprabhuji continued to explain the rules and regulations of bhakti, since bhakti is the primary goal for an individual in Pushti Bhakti Sampradaya. And so Achyutas had requested Sri Mahaprabhuji that he would continue to focus upon the Mansi Seva while not being in a permanent home and not being able to perform the service of Shri Krishna. And so Sri Mahaprabhuji had fulfilled this desire or this request of Achyutas Sanodhya by composing the Granth of Siddhantmuktavali and through his divine krupa. So Siddhantmuktavali is basically the pearl garland of Pushti Siddhant. Siddh and Ant make Siddhant, and Siddh means the Siddhi, or the attainment of the fruit, or is the attainment of the sadhya or the fruit of the sadhana that is being done. Ant means end. So basically Siddhant means the principles that has to be followed for the attainment of the end result. Muktavali means the pearls or pearls or moti garland, and that's why Siddhantmuktavali is being explained here as the pearl garland of Pushti Siddhant. And so there's 3 major concepts being preached in this Granth on Pushti Marg. Seva, Sevya, and Sevak. Seva is the divine service of Shri Krishna, and yet explained that there's only one and only way to attain Bhagwan, which is bhakti or seva. And this bhakti has to incorporate both tanu vittaja, which is dedication of the body, mind, and possessions, and of the bhakti, which is the ninefold devotion we had understood in Balbodh. And in order to actually successfully complete bhakti in its proper manner, we have to have the grace, the Pushti grace of Shri Krishna. And so Shri Krishna had also explained in Gita that the Sankhya, Yoga, Jap, etc., all those Vedic methods cannot lead to Bhagwan. Only bhakti can accomplish this goal. The next topic is of Sevya, which is the divine Swarup of worship, the Swarup that we are worshipping, which is Parabrahma Shri Krishna. And Parabrahma Shri Krishna has 3 blissful forms, which is Adibhautik, Adhyatmik, and Adhidevik. Adibhautik is the form that is perceivable by the Indriyas, and that is Bhagwan, who is in the Swarup of the Jagat. Adhyatmik is the spiritual form, which is Akshar Brahma, and Adhyatmik form is basically the one who is Nirakar. It's the Nirakar form, which means that form isn't visible to the material eyes. And Adhyatmik Swarup here is Akshar Brahma. Adidevik is the supreme regulator of Adibhautik and Adhyatmic form. So basically, Shri Krishna is the regulator of both the Adibhautik and Adhyatmic form in this situation. And Adidevik form is the Sakar form. And Sakar means the form that is visible to those having the divine vision, which is granted by Bhagwan, like the divine vision that Bhagwan had graced Arjun with, as we see in Bhagavad Gita. And the last one is Sevak, and Sevak is the devotee or the worshipper. And in order to be a proper devotee, we have to have a proper understanding of ourselves and who we are and what our purpose is in this in this life. And so without knowing our real identity, it is impossible to grasp the identity of Parabrahma. But because Parabrahma is aprakrut and beyond the worldly intellect. So if we are unable to even understand ourselves being in this universe, then how is it possible to understand Parabrahma, who is beyond this world? So considering all of this, overall, there's three main questions which are being explained in Siddhantmuktavali, meaning how are we to interact with the ultimate reality, who is Shri Krishna, and what are his divine forms, leelas, and attributes, and three, who are we and what is our true purpose in this universe. And the main purpose of Siddhantmuktavali is that, as we understand in Bhagavad is the explanation of Sarva Siddhant, meaning Bhagavad was an explanation of Dharma, Earth, Kam, and Moksha, which is the summary of all the Vedic Shastras, the Smriti Shastras. And Bhagavad was the filter for separating the Pushti beings from the other jivas who are focused on the worldly purusharths. And so after Bhagavad is Siddhantmuktavali, and Siddhantmuktavali is the explanation of the Swasiddhant, meaning Swasiddhant is where Sri Mahaprabhuji is explaining the Pushti Margya principles and regulations. And this Granth was composed by Sri Mahaprabhuji for leading the filtered individuals onto the correct and right path that they're meant to achieve. And this Granth expresses the defining quality of bhakti, and it reveals the difference between the original teachings of Sri Acharyaji, and we can compare that and see what the present day and how the present day how we do the Krishna Seva, as we see in the Havelis, and how it is against the teachings of Sri Acharyaji in certain perspectives. So that was the Granth introduction that you had given to us. And now the first two slokas, Natva Harim Pravakshami Swasiddhanta Vinishchayam Krishna Seva Sadakaya Mansi Saparamata Chetat Tat Pravanam Seva Tat Siddhetanu Vittaja Tata Sansara Dukhasya Nivrittir Brahma Bodhanam. So in these two slokas you had explained that Sri Mahaprabhuji is starting the Granth with bowing down to Hari, the remover of all sorrows. And then Sri Mahaprabhuji actually begins the Granth with an explanation of what Seva means in context to Mansi. So we can understand that when Sri Mahaprabhuji says Chitta Tat Pravanam Seva, meaning when an individual's mind and chitta is completely engrossed in Bhagwan at all times of the day is known as Mansi Seva. But how to attain this stage of Seva? So it is explained that if a person performs the service of Shri Krishna with no emotion of bhakti, then Seva is simply for namesake purpose. And because of this fact, we have to use our own body, mind, and possessions within the service of Shri Krishna to gradually reach that specific stage of bhakti. And this is where we transform the worldly I-ness and minus to divine I-ness and minus. So you had also explained where you compared the stage of Mansi to Yog, because in Yog, the Ashtanga Yog, the last three facets are of Dhyan, Dharana, and Samadhi. And these are the stages in which an individual has to concentrate within the Jivatma. So in other words, Dhyan and Dharana are the base building phases of Yoga Marg for developing the utmost concentration towards the Atma. So when this concentration reaches its peak, this is known as samadhi. And samadhi is a state in which a person is unaware of his surroundings and the necessities of the body. So in that same way, Tanuvittaja is the base building facet for an individual to attain the stage of Mansi, the supreme. Mansi itself, Seva itself is a supreme fruit or full of devotion. There is no specific fruit like moksha that we understood in Balabodh. Seva itself is the supreme fruit for a Pushti devotee. So an example of Mansi can be seen in the context with the Vraj devotees, where the Vraj devotees are constantly attracted to Bhagavan, no matter what time of the day it was outside or what they were doing. They were always concentrated upon Shri Krishna. So, and they weren't really affected by anyone else's perspectives on what they did, as long as they were concentrated upon Shri Krishna. So they were careless in that manner, and the others' judgments towards them did not affect them in any way. So if one achieves the stage of Mansi, then he has achieved the Phal Roop of Seva. And he had also explained another story of Naradji. And through that example, he had explained what is the true form of concentration or devotion, because the individual whose mind is continuously concentrated upon Bhagavan, no matter his situation, is the highest devotee. So any person who is not involved in any activity can perform the recitation of Shri Krishna. But doing this very thing while also being busy in our daily life is a rare occurrence with an individual. And if a person does achieve this rare occurrence, then he is the highest devotee. So devotion is not where an individual gives up his tasks and duties and start reciting the name of Bhagwan, but it is when a person is able to think of Bhagwan while being occupied in other activities. And this is what Sri Mahaprabhuji means Mansi Seva. So you had also explained that what is the method to attain Mansi. So Tassiddhe Tanuvittaja, meaning Tanuvittaja is the key to attaining Mansi, or the Phal Roop of Seva. Tanuvittaja is where a person, Tanuvittaja is composed of Tanuja plus Vittaja. Tanuja is body and mind, and Vittaja is wealth or possessions. And by dedicating all of these factors into our worship is known as Tanuvittaja Seva. So by dedicating the body and the objects in the service of Bhagwan, then the worldly I-ness and my-ness would be turned into divine ahanta and mamta. And Sri Mahaprabhuji has proposed a path in which we must not eliminate the avidya, but instead we have to put it into our benefit. We have to put it into use so it would benefit us for attaining the superior most condition. So along with Mansi, a person can attain Sansar Dukh Nivritti and Brahmabodh. Sansar Dukh Nivritti is where a person will remain unaffected by the changes that happen around them, because they will not focus upon the happiness and the sadness that come along with possessing a certain material. And Brahmabodh is the attainment of Bhagwan or Parabrahma Shri Krishna himself. And Shri Gosaiji has provided commentary on Siddhantmuktavali, and in that commentary Shri Gosaiji has explained that one must keep Tanuja and Vittaja, one shouldn't keep Tanuja and Vittaja separate, since it would not fulfill the purpose of devotion. And we see that a lot of times in present day, where some are sponsoring money for someone else to perform seva, or they're being paid to doing the seva. And this is basically negated by Sri Mahaprabhuji, and we should not do those stuff. And this is basically what you had explained in the last few classes.
Very nice. Yes, you may continue with the next look.
जी राजा परम ब्रह्म तो कृष्णो हि सच्चिदानंद बृहत् द्विरूपम तद्धि सर्वं स्यात् एकं तस्माद् विलक्षणम्. Translation: Shri Krishna is Parabrahma, the superior most entity, while the Akshar Brahma consists of Sat, Chit and countable Anand attributes. Akshar Brahma has two aspects. one conceived of as all, and two separate form from that, i.e. the divine abode of Krishna Vaikunth Lok. Explanation. By this very slok, after completing the topic of seva, Sri Mahaprabhu is explaining the fundamental principle of Siddhatmuk Brahmavad for making us understand the form of our Savior, Shri Krishna, who is the Para Brahma, supreme power. Para Brahma means Purna Purushottam, Purna Anand Swarup, who is the superior-most one. Puruhat means Akshar Brahma. He is the form of Satchidanand, the form attained by Para Brahma for creating the universe and individual beings. Akshar Brahma is said to have beingness, consciousness, and as it were limited Anand as its attributes. 2. Clarification. 1. Krishna and Akshar Brahma are not, of course, different beings, since there is and can be only one being. 2. A word about the great Brahma's Anand. Akshar Brahma's Anand is limited, while Para Brahma consists of unlimited Anand. 2 aspects of Akshar Brahma have been explained here. The first aspect is that Akshar Brahma himself constitutes in the form of the universe and individual beings, while another aspect is the form which is taught by holy scriptures, which is the object of meditation of sages, and is the focus of their ultimate liberation, which is dwelling place of Purushottam Shri Krishna as well. So, based on what I've understood in this slok, Sri Mahaprabhu is explaining the form of Savior, and Savior is the one who we worship, and that is Shri Krishna. And Shri Krishna is Purna Purushottam and having the most supreme power over this entire universe, and he is out of whom this entire Jagat has been created out of. And Purna Purushottam means that he is even beyond Akshar Brahma, and because of that, here Bhagwan has been compared to Akshar Brahma, and Shri Krishna is even more superior than Akshar Brahma. And Akshar Brahma is the one who is in the form of Satchidanand, and Bhagwan has Bhagwan and Akshar Brahma are the same beings, but Akshar Brahma is the one who has created the Jagat. And I don't really understand the other part of the slok, but that is what I've understood.
Fine. As I said earlier, that after completing the topic of seva, here Sri Mahaprabhuji is continuing with the topic of Savior. It means Shri Krishna, the one whom we are supposed to serve. Savior is the one whom we are supposed to worship. Now, as we understood that basically 4 characters are needed for being ideal Pushtimargya Vaishnava, in which first of all a being must be aware regarding the form of seva. Secondly, he must be aware about what he is. Third, he must be aware about whom we are supposed to worship. It means we must know the form of Shri Krishna. And the fourth thing is that we must have love towards Shri Krishna. So this means that in spite of understanding the concept of seva, it is important to understand the form of Shri Krishna himself. As when we had went through Pushtipath and Pushtipravesh, we concluded the concept that when we are performing the service of Shri Krishna, we must be aware about who Shri Krishna is. And it is the most primary form or primary step towards developing devotion. Because Shri Krishna is not a normal human being like us. He is not a normal devata like Indra, Varuna, Agni, etc. He is something more than anything, any of these forms. So who is he, and why it is important to understand him So Sri Mahaprabhuji explains that the definition of devotion is Mahatmya Gyan Purvak Sudrad Sarvatodika Sneho Bhakti, which means that first of all we need to understand the divine form of Sri Krishna. We must attain the knowledge regarding divine form of Sri Krishna. After attaining that knowledge, we need to have respect towards the Sri Krishna, and that respect towards the Sri Krishna gradually develops into the emotion of devotion or bhakti. So understanding the divinity of Sri Krishna is the first step towards devotion, without which the emotion of devotion or the concept of devotion remains incomplete in itself. So what Sri Mahaprabhuji wants to explain is that what do you mean when I say that I have to understand Krishna? Now Krishna is not a mortal being, or he is not a human being whom we can understand by meeting him or by understanding him or by learning anything regarding him. We need to take the help of scriptures. Only scriptures can make us understand the form of Sri Krishna. Therefore, by reading Ved, Gita, Bhagavat, etc., these are the scriptures which elaborate us the form of Sri Krishna, and there is no other way we can understand his form. That's why Sri Mahaprabhuji is explaining here the conclusory form of Sri Krishna, what has been explained in the scriptures. So Mahaprabhuji says that Krishna is Parabrahma. It means he is the superior most entity in this universe, while the Akshar Brahma consists of Satchit and Anand attribute, countable Anand attribute. Now Akshar Brahma has two aspects. Akshar Brahma is the secondary level, Parabrahma is the superior level. Akshar Brahma is the form which has been acquired by Parabrahma Shri Krishna for creating this universe. When Bhagavan wanted, or when Bhagavan had the desire to create this universe, he acquires the form of Akshar Brahma. So Parabrahma and Akshar Brahma are not two different objects or two different entities, but these are two perspectives. So when we can say that Akshar Brahma is a contextual perspective, it means whenever Bhagavan likes to create this universe, at that time he acquires the form of Akshar Brahma, and when the absoluteness of Sri Krishna is exposed, at that time he is Parabrahma, the superior most one. Now Akshar Brahma has two aspects. The first one is conceived of as all. It means Akshar Brahma is conceived in all the forms. The whole universe, the each and every object, sentient and insentient, whatever we are witnessing around us, is the elaboration or diversity created out of the attributes of Akshar Brahma, the Sat and Chit of Akshara Brahma. And the second form of Akshar Brahma is the separate from that, which is the divine abode of Shri Krishna, which is known as Vaikuntha or Golokadam. Now, this verse, after completing the topic of Seva, Sri Mahaprabhuji is explaining the fundamental principle of Shuddhadvait Brahmavad. Shuddhadvait Brahmavad is the philosophical name of our Sampradaya, or philosophical title given to the philosophy as propagated by Sri Mahaprabhuji. So the term means that Brahma, though Brahma is the absolute form, the Brahma term explains the infinity, the infinite form, but the same infinite form is having a form as well. It means that Bhagavan is infinite as well as is having a form as well. Now the problem is that generally these two concepts are considered to be opposite to each other. It means the one who is infinite cannot have any form, and the one who has a form cannot be infinite. For example, you, me, all of us, we are having a particular form. It means being a female or being a male, being a child, adult, youth, we are having a particular form, a particular body, a particular composition. Now, because we are like this, we cannot have infinite form. It means we are finite and we have to stay finite only. We cannot be infinite. So now in that case, how to understand the concept regarding Brahma? So Mahaprabhu ji explains that Brahma is finite and infinite both at the same time, because the infinity of Brahma can incorporate both the concepts or both the forms of being finite and infinite at the same time. So in spite of being infinite, Brahma can have a form. That's the theory of Sakara Brahmavad. Sakar means the one who is consisting of a form, and Brahmavad, it means the concept, the philosophical concept in which Brahma, the infinite form, the infinite reality, has been accepted having a form as well. So for making us understand the form of our Savior, Shri Krishna, who is the Parabrahma, Shri Mahaprabhu is explaining both these forms. So Parabrahma means Purna Purushottam, Purna Ananda Swarup, the one who is the superior most one. And the Brahat, in the Shlok, Shri Mahaprabhu is using Satchidanandakam Brahat. So Brahat means Akshar Brahma. So he is in the form of Satchidanand, the form attained by Parabrahma for creating this universe and the individual beings. So Akshar Brahma is said to have beingness, consciousness, and as it is where limited Anand are its attributes. So two things which Mahaprabhu wants to clarify here, that Krishna and Parabrahma are not of course different beings, because according to the scriptures, there is one and only one entity, supreme entity in this universe. The second thing is that the word about the great Brahma's Anand, that Akshar Brahma's Anand is limited, while Parabrahma consists of unlimited Anand. The two aspects of Akshar Brahma are very clear. That the first aspect of Akshar Brahma is that himself, he constitutes in the form of universe and individual beings. So whatever we are seeing around us is composed of Akshar Brahma. And another aspect is the form, which is taught by holy scriptures, which is the object of meditation of the sages. It means when the Jnana Margi, who attain the knowledge of Brahma, when they want to attain the supreme reality, they concentrate their mind in Akshar Brahma, the infinity of Akshar Brahma, and ultimately in the condition of Samadhi, they attain salvation in Akshar Brahma. It means they merge in the infinite form of Akshar Brahma. While the other form of the same Akshar Brahma is the locus of their ultimate liberation, and the second form is the dwelling place of Purushottam Shri Krishna, where the Pushti beings attain the fruit. So this is how Sri Mahaprabhu is explaining the form of ultimate reality. If there are any more questions regarding these topics, we'll be discussing those tomorrow. We are concluding here for today.